Hello everyone, I am Pankaj and today I am going to tell you about a very nice and very beautiful story written by Alvin Brooks White. Alvin Brooks White was an American writer known for his children's books. His most famous works, besides The Trumpet of the Swans, include Stuart Little and Charlotte's Web. But today I shall describe you about the story The Trumpet of the Swans. As the title suggests, the trumpet of the swans. The trumpet is the musical instrument which you must have heard, and you must be knowing that the sound of trumpet is very nice. And you must have also seen the swans. So this is all about the trumpet of the swans. Now let's see the story. Sam Beaver, an 11-year-old boy, was walking through a forest when he heard a loud trumpet. Startled means surprised. He searched the woods and swamps till he found a big nest of two enormous trumpeter swans by a lonely pond in the middle of the forest. They were laying eggs. Sam was filled with wonder because he knew that trumpeter swans were very rare. He returned to the same spot a week later to watch the birds again, but the swan could also sense that an outsider was nearby. So, this is the story of an 11-year-old boy whose name is Sam Beaver. He was walking through a forest, but suddenly he heard a loud trumpet. He got surprised, and then he saw two big trumpeter swans by a lonely pond in the middle of the forest. They were laying eggs, and Sam got surprised because he knew that trumpeter swans were very rare. He returned to the same spot after a week to watch the birds again, but this time the swans could feel that there was some outsider. The swan had a strange feeling of being watched. She twisted and peered uneasily and gazed intently at the point of land that jutted out into the pond near the nest. Searching for an outsider, what she finally saw surprised her. So the swan did not feel comfortable when she saw the boy. She was looking continuously, gazing at the point of land that extended out of a surface into the pond near the nest. She was looking for this intruder, means this boy, and what she finally saw surprised her completely. She saw that there was a small boy sitting on a log. He was very quiet and he had no gun. "There is a boy on the log," the swan whispered to the cob. Here, cob is the male swan. The cob was furious, means he got angry. How did he get here in the heart of the forest? Boys can't fly and there are no roads in the jungle, he shouted. "Maybe he is lost," said the swan quietly. "Anyway, he is just observing us." So here we see that when the swan tells this incident to the cob means a male swan, he gets angry and he thought that how the boy came into this forest, how the boy came at this spot. So he got angry and he shouted. But the swan says that maybe he is lost, said the swan quietly. Anyway, he is just observing us. But what if he throws stones at us, said the cob. "Just wait, I'll go and knock him cold with my wing." Here, knock him cold means hit him very hard to make him faint. So the male swan means the cock said that I'll go him and I'll hit him, because they were not feeling this good. They were not feeling comfortable watching the boy to them. But the swan says, now just wait. Don't start a fight, said the swan. He is not bothering us at all anyway. I have started this nest and I'll go and lay a fourth egg now, said the swan. So the swan stopped cock to fight with that boy. For the next hour, the cock paddled slowly around the tiny island, keeping watch. Sam sat on the log, spellbound at the sight of these large water birds. After he had watched them for an hour, Sam got up and quietly left. The birds watched him go. So the swan said that there is nothing to be worried because he is not disturbing us. Now I am going and I shall lay a fourth egg now. For the next hour, the cock moved slowly around the tiny island and it was watching the boy. It saw that the boy was sitting on the log. He was spellbound. Spellbound means he was filled with wonder by the beauty of surroundings. He was just looking. He was not disturbing them. He was not disturbing anyone. He was just looking at the water birds. After he had watched them for an hour, Sam got up and quietly left. The birds watched him go. Then what happened? Then, sighing with relief, the swan left the nest and turned to look back. There, lying safely on the soft feathers at the bottom of the nest, were 4 eggs. She gazed at them proudly. When the boy went from there, then they felt lots of relief. And swan also left the nest, and when she turned back, she saw that there were 4 eggs, and she was feeling very much proud of herself. She was feeling very proud of the eggs also. So all were feeling happy and relieved. So far, we noticed that there was a kind of misunderstanding between the swans, cock, and the boy. Actually, Sam Beaver did not come there to hurt anyone. He was just surprised by the trumpet of the swans. He was liking the sound of the trumpet and he was also liking the beauty of the forest. So it was the scene, but the swans were thinking that the boy might disturb them, but it was not the case. But finally, the eggs were let down and everybody was feeling relaxed. Now let's see what happened next. The swan settled herself in the nest to keep her eggs warm. Carefully, she reached down with her bill and poked each egg until it was in just the right spot to receive warmth from her body. Children, you must be knowing that swan and the birds keep their eggs warm, and after this only the baby swans or baby such kind of creatures come out from those eggs. So swan was also doing the same thing. The cock sailed around close by to keep her company and protect her from enemies, while the swan was sitting on her eggs just to keep the eggs warm. The cock was also sailing around and he was doing this just to give her a company and protect her from enemies. He knew that a fox prowled somewhere in the woods. Here, prowled means moved very quietly in search of prey. He had heard him barking on some rides. So the real enemy was the fox, not the boy. So the cob was very much alert, very much careful, while Swan was laying the eggs and while Swan was sitting over the eggs to keep it warm. This way, days passed, and the swan sat and sat in the nest, warming the eggs through sun and rain. She was taking lots of pain. The weeks went by, no one disturbed her. Finally, one warm afternoon, tired of swimming around, the cob asked the swan, "Do you never get tired of sitting in one place?" Because the swan was sitting continuously over the eggs. "No," replied the swan, "not really. Isn't it uncomfortable to sit on eggs?" Cob asked again from the swan. Swan said, "Yes, it is," she replied. "But I won't have to sit for long. Our cygnets will be born soon." Here, what is the meaning of cygnets? Cygnet means young swans. "Don't you ever feel hungry or thirsty?" asked the cob again. "Yes, I do," said the swan. "I'm actually very thirsty right now." This way, the swan said that I'm very thirsty, I'm feeling uncomfortable also, but I want that these young swans should come out quickly. So I'm taking so much of pain. You can see in our homes also, our mother takes lots of pain for us. She cooks food, she does many work, even for the children, she watches the every activity of them. She washes the clothes, so she helps in all the ways. So similarly, swans are also like that. So when the swan said that I'm feeling very thirsty, then the swan decided she could safely leave the eggs for a few minutes. She pushed some loose feathers around the eggs to hide them and keep them warm. Then she stepped off the nest and entered the water to take several quick sips. She glided over to a shallow place, thrust her head under water, and pulled up tender green from the bottom. Finally, she waddled out onto a grassy bank and stood there, preening her feathers. So, just because of thirst, Swan decided to leave the eggs for some time, and she pushed some loose feathers around the eggs to hide them so that fox cannot catch them or any other animal cannot see them. She went to the water and she took some sips of water. She enjoyed for some time and she came out to a grassy bank. She stood there. After this, she felt good, but she had no idea that at that moment their enemy, the red fox, stood waiting behind a clump of bushes. Now, here, Swan was not aware of this, that a fox was watching all these things. That red fox who was after those eggs. The cob spied the fox first. The male swan, first of all, he observed it secretly, the fox. "Look out," he trumpeted. "I can see the fox creeping toward you. You are in grave danger." Her grave danger means great and serious danger. So the cob warned the swan. The fox was moving very slowly towards the swan, and it was behind a group of bushes growing close together, and it was after the eggs. So now everybody became alert. But what happened after that? Did the red fox get success in attacking and getting those eggs? Or swan could save her eggs? What happened? It's interesting, right? Now let's see. But just as the fox was about to spring on the swan, a stick came hurtling through the air, surprising everybody. It struck the fox on the nose as he yelped in pain while turning around to run away. The two birds could not imagine what had happened because everything happened very suddenly. While the fox was about to attack, a stick came and it moved at a very high speed through the air. And it surprised everyone, the cock, the swan, everyone. It exactly struck the fox on the nose and he was in great pain. Then, just because of his pain, he ran away from there. And the two birds could not imagine, two birds could not think that what happened actually. Two birds means swan and the cock. They got surprised. Then they noticed a movement in the bushes. There was some kind of movement in the bushes. Out stepped Sam Beaver. Suddenly, Sam Beaver, the same 11-year-old boy, came out from the bushes. The boy who had visited them a month ago. Seeing him, the swans knew that he had saved them from the fox. They realized that the boy was their friend after all. Now, when Sam Beaver came out from the bushes and when these two birds, swans and cock, watched him, they felt that this was just a misunderstanding. The boy was not his enemy, the boy was his friend. The boy was the person who actually saved his life. So now they became very happy, they became very thankful to that boy. And they made the sound. Cobb said, "Ko ho, ko ho, ko ho." And same thing was replied by the swan, "Ko ho." The pond rang with the sounds of victory and gladness. All became very happy. All became very thankful. The pond was filled with the sound of the trumpets of the swans. She was thrilled, means she was very excited and happy. He walked slowly around the shore and sat down on a log. So everything was very exciting. This incident made the swans, the boy closer, and both of them became very happy. Now the swan and the cow realized that they are actually friends. The boy was not their enemy. The cow swam over toward Sam, climbed out of the pond, and stood close to the boy, looking at him in a friendly way and arching his neck gracefully. Once he ran his neck far out, cautiously, and almost touched the boy. Sam never moved a muscle. His heart thumped from excitement and joy. Cobb was feeling so much thankful, so much grateful for the boy that he swam over toward that boy, Sam. It climbed out of the pond and it stood close to the boy. It looked at the boy in a very friendly way and he ran his neck far out with carefulness and he was almost touched the boy. Sam sat quietly and remained still. His heart thumped from excitement and joy. Sam was equally happy because he was liking those swans, liking those beautiful birds. Then the swan paddled back to her nest and returned to her eggs. She felt lucky to be alive. So finally, the swan went back to their eggs and they felt very lucky because they were alive. They were feeling relaxed and relieved. So just because of the boy, they could survive, they could save their lives, and they could not only save their own lives but also their eggs. So this way they could become happy, and the boy was also enjoying the beauty of the forest. As I told you in the beginning that this is written by E.B. White, and this particular story is an extract from The Trumpet of the Swans by E.B. White. I hope you must have liked the story. So sometimes misunderstanding happens. Sometimes you want to help someone and somebody thinks that you are his or her enemy. And the same thing happened in the case of this story, where swans thought that the boy was their enemy, but finally the boy saved their lives. So it was a happy ending, and the boy was also very nice. So one should learn that one should help everyone. Animals, birds, they all are part of our lives. We should save them, we should help them, we should not disturb them, we should not hurt them. So children, all of you be aware that all of you have to help each of you, not only the human beings, but you should be friendly and helpful for the nature, for the animals, for the birds, for everyone. And this is the humanity in true sense. I hope you must have understood the story. Now before ending, I would like to ask a few questions from you. The first question: how old Sam Beaver is? The answer will be, he is 11 years old. Why was he so much surprised? He was surprised by the beauty near the pond and also by the trumpet of the swans. The next question, if I ask you how many eggs were laid by the swan, the answer will be 4 eggs. In the beginning, what the cock thought about the boy? The answer is, in the beginning, the cock thought the boy might hurt them. Was actually the boy their enemy? The answer is no. The boy was not their enemy. The boy was their friend. The boy was very helpful to them. Actually, he saved their life. The boy was a nice person. And the cock and the swan, they also understood this at the end of the story. So everything became happy, and we should also learn from Sam Beaver that we should also help all the animals, all the birds who are in nature. We all should live happily and friendly with each other. We all need each other. I hope you must have liked this story written by E.B. White. Now I want to conclude here that we all should be happy. We all can be happy only if we all live with togetherness, if we all help each other. Thank you very much for your precious time. Have a wonderful learning ahead. Keep learning.